Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to share with you how you can create curriculum-based hands-on activities for your children. As I go through this process, I'm going to be creating an activity for my kindergartner, so I invite you to choose a subject that your child is studying and create with me. Right now, what I have in front of me is my daughter's math curriculum. So she is working through Singapore Dimensions Math, Level KB, and I think what we're going to do is focus on number bonds. So that's the very first thing we want to do, is choose that overarching concept that our children are going to practice. And as I think about number bonds, I'm also going to think about what's the foundational knowledge that she needs to know and also understand as she is practicing the activity. So at a base level for number bonds, it's going to be the idea that there is a whole with two parts that make the whole. So now as I'm going through the book, I'm also seeing like how they have laid out for her different ways to practice that. There's times where she has to fill in the missing part. She has to fill in the missing whole. So those are two different ways to do it, and they provide her with pictures to figure it out. And then there are times where she has to complete the entire bond herself. So they'll give her a picture of, for instance, 5 blue crayons and 2 orange crayons, and she has to figure out what the actual bond is, so the whole and the parts. Now, having gone through this, I have a good idea of how the book is having her practice her number bonds, and I can start to translate that over into an actual hands-on activity. So for me, when I try to think about doing a hands-on activity, I make it as visual as possible. So what are the things that we can take conceptually, like on paper, and put it in the physical? Number bonds, I think, are pretty simple to do that with. So I see the 3 circles and I see the connector pieces that go from the parts to the whole. So I'm not gonna lie, I did already have this made ahead of time, and this is something that I did for my older daughter when she was in 1st grade. And that was, I cut out different circles from poster board because it's just a nice thick material, and I put numbers on them. And so we did number bond activities with her like this, and I think it's gonna work pretty well for my kindergartner. And then I have these popsicle sticks that we're gonna use. So one quick note, I would encourage you to use whatever it is that you have around the house, whether that's macaronis or dried beans, or you go outside and find some sticks or twigs on the ground. You don't have to get these kinds of materials, although you are more than welcome to. But don't feel like you have to have ginormous stockpiles of things like this in your home to create hands-on activities. I currently have 2 ideas running through my mind. The first is to do the picture approach. So I'm gonna have different objects on different picture cards. Now this is something I would have to go into my computer and make, or I could make it really simple and just use dot markers to create images of, like, for instance, 1 red dot and 3 yellow dots, and have her figure out what the bond is from that image. What she would do is, when she sees the image, she just creates the 2 parts that make the whole, and then she figures out like what the whole is from those 2 different parts. So that's one thing that she can do. The other thing I was thinking about is incorporating some dice. And what she could do is roll the dice. So right now I just rolled a 5 and a 3, if you can see that. And so she would have to figure out which number is higher, 5 or 3. And then she would take the higher number, that is her whole, and then she knows that 3 is one of the parts, and she has to figure out the missing part, and that would be 2. So then she would complete her bond that way. I think for now I might stick with that first one, and as she gets more comfortable, I can move her into this dice activity. So that was fairly simple. I really didn't take too much time at all to create this conceptually. I will say cutting these things out did take a long time, but it didn't take too much time for me to like come up with the activity. Now, I will say that there are definitely times where I have that overarching concept in my mind, and I cannot for the life of me figure out a hands-on activity. So I would encourage you, if you're in that place right now, to go to Pinterest, go to Google. And I know that sounds like a cop-out, but seriously, there's no need to reinvent the wheel with activities because there are so many out there that are fantastic. The thing about searching for those activities is you have to be very specific, because if not, you're going to drown in search results. So for instance, if I couldn't figure out an activity for my kindergartner, I would have typed in number bond activities for kindergartners, or I could say number bond activities for 5-year-olds. The overarching concept is very important, whether you're going to go ahead and make your own activity from scratch or you're going to go and search for an activity. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that it was helpful for you. Take care, be blessed, and I'll see you in the next one.